Osio, welcome family to Teatime.beauty. We are back in the afternoon. It is not morning time, but for those of you on the replay, it doesn't matter. For those of you who end up coming onto the live, welcome. It has been a couple of days and a little moment of transparency. I always do this. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dani. Welcome to Teatime.beauty, a channel and a community, a safe space for healers and those who are healing. This is a creative playground where I share different interests, different pieces of knowledge to help improve your quality of life. And everything that I share has had a direct impact on my life. And so I'm grateful to be able to share resources with you all. I am a yogi, I am a doula, and I am also currently working towards being a clinician. So I'm excited to share the different mental health skills and coping skills with you that I know has impacted my life and those that I work with. And so some of the things that we'll be going over today are breath practices, our coping skill of the day, and then we'll read our book, Soothe Your Nerves. Oh, see, look, I got notes poking out. We'll be reading Soothe Your Nerves by Dr. Angela Neal-Barnett. And then we'll be going over some reflection about what we read. Today's topic will be around anxiety. And then we'll close out with another breath practice. And I'll share some offerings that I am working on in the background with you all. Oh, hello. Hello, Daniela. Hey, Dani, my twin. Haven't caught a live stream in a while. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for being here. You are welcome here always. And even when you catch the replay, I am really happy that you're here supporting Teatime.beauty. So I hope you're having a beautiful start to your week. And if not, I hope it gets better. You deserve that. So let's go ahead and start with the breath practice. So diaphragmatic breath is a fancy word of saying that we will be using our whole diaphragm when we breathe. And so really we're going to expand our belly as much as possible on our inhale, and then we're going to take a full exhale, letting all of that air, all of that stagnant air, all of that air that we just took in out of our body. And this is a practice to remind our body that we are safe. Being able to take a full deep inhale and exhale is a reminder to your body that you are in control, that you are safe, that you are even worthy of receiving all of the oxygen that your body, your muscles, your blood vessels, your brain needs to function fully at its best. Of course, Wado, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. So I'm just really excited because I honestly had to give myself so much grace because, okay, so I started a new position and I have been like, I want this to be an annual thing that on February of each year, I go live and I share a book or a couple different stories from people that inspire me, specifically women, and that I can share coping skills. And so I did it last year and I didn't finish all the way through the way I intended. And I still ended up sharing coping skills throughout the month. And then this year, I'm just taking it as I go. So we are all gonna watch me grow together because eventually it's gonna be a thing that I can stick to in a certain way. And also, we're having grace because I'm sure everyone is a-okay with getting the live and the replay when they get it, because when I do show up, I show up fully and I show up mindfully. And so thank you all for your patience and for your support, honestly. So, okay. So the Sanskrit word for diaphragmatic breath is Dirga Pranayama. So if you would like to practice this with me, we'll do 3 deep breaths together. And this is something you can practice at any point in your day and in any moment, honestly. Other people don't even need to know that you're using a coping skill when you're doing it. This is a genuine reset for your nervous system. Okay, so if you're seated, please get in a comfortable position. If you're standing, you can do this as well. If you're in a safe environment and are able to do so, please close your eyes or lower your gaze, looking at the tip of your nose. I will be closing my eyes, and let's go ahead and do 3 deep breaths together. If you hear the doggy, yeah, there's a doggy. Okay, so ready? Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. Last one. Inhale and let it all go. Exhale. If your eyes were closed, you may open them. And what I like to do is put my palms to my heart and just rub in a circle over my chest, creating a little bit of warmth there. Maybe you can tell yourself a little affirmation. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. And believe it. Yeah. Offering that safety for our body, inside and outside. All right, beautiful. So now that we centered and grounded into the space, we are going to go into our coping skill. So today's coping skill, nature walks. I love nature walks. I have been going on nature walks for a few years now, but I've been consistent since, oh my gosh, it's been longer than October. I've been going on nature walks since September every single morning. I mean, there's some days where I didn't go. Sometimes it snowed. Whenever I've been going through different transitions in my life, maybe like I slowed down with my daily nature walks, but I will go to a park that I really love by my house, and there's lots of trees and there's a lake, and I'm really grateful and privileged, honestly, to live nearby an area that's so beautiful like that. But and I shared, if you go on my YouTube channel on the shorts, I tried to, take different videos of like just how pretty it was and how peaceful. And when the trees are all their different colors, I'm so excited for that because this winter has been a bit much. Um, but I have been consistent even when it snowed, or not when it snowed. I didn't go. But actually, it did have a little bit of, snow, and I still went. There were days where it's rained, like this morning it rained, and I still went. So it has gotten to a point, because it's been months at this point of me consistently going on nature walks, that my body, it's like the opposite. Like before, I would experience anxiety and I would think about like, what can I do to help myself? But now whenever I experience anxiety, I literally think about my safe place, which is the park that I go to. So there are certain parts of my walk that I connect with different trees and I connect with the grass. Sometimes I want to get off the trail and I just want to walk through the grass, or sometimes I just want to walk back and forth along the water. Sometimes I just want to like sit down and just look at the water, or really just feel what it's like to breathe in the fresh air. I think the nature walk has so many mental and emotional and spiritual benefits that it isn't hard for me to stay consistent with it. At first, it was really a matter of getting out of my house and making it a priority for me to have this be a part of my morning. But now it's a requirement. Even when I don't feel like it, I still know that the benefits of going are going to outweigh any like inconvenience or discomfort I might feel for getting myself to go out there even while it's cold. So, another few reasons why nature walks are a beautiful addition to your coping skill toolkit is okay. So, our coping skill, and I have notes: walk barefoot in nature to reconnect with earth and restore your energy. I actually do have a YouTube video about this. It's called Get Grounded. So if you look up Get Grounded, Teatime.beauty, I have a cute little video of me being barefoot. I like take my shoes off and I'm like, want to know how to get grounded? I'll show you. So, yes, walk barefoot in nature to reconnect with earth and restore your energy. So, our story, and featuring indigenous traditions, our story is indigenous traditions of many melanated cultures often include practices of connecting with nature. Women in these traditions, like the Native American healer Black Elk's grandmother, taught that the land is sacred and holds deep spiritual wisdom. So I definitely will co-sign that one. Nature, grass, like there's a reason why there's a saying, touch grass. If you ever want to ground into yourself, into the earth, just to feel connected, if you ever feel lonely, if you ever feel hopeless, if you ever feel like symptoms of anxiety or depression or panic or any PTSD, any just general discomfort you're feeling in your body, in your mind, in your soul, spirit, you can always go to nature because nature is always taking care of itself. Nature takes care of each other, and you're included in what nature is taking care of. And you actually are taking care of nature by going to spend time in it. Nature enjoys, each tree enjoys being in the presence of you, of your soul, right? The trees have been around for so long. Excuse me, they have experienced so many different souls throughout time, and you are included in the evolution of our species. And trees and humans have been interacting on this earth for so long, and we have to do our part to maintain that relationship with the earth, with nature. And going on a nature walk does not have to cost you anything. I understand, it is a privilege to be in areas where there is accessible and safe nature spaces, okay? Accessible, safe, and might I say clean? Because there are some nature spaces that, sure, there's nature, but it's not well maintained. And so I can understand that there's a level of comfortability when it comes to joining a new space, especially if it's a nature space, especially if this is a person's first time really engaging with nature spaces. um Give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, but I will tell you, this is an age long relationship that we are maintaining by going on nature walks, by connecting with the trees, by putting our feet in the grass, like Black Elk's grandmother said, the Native American healer. It teaches us that land is sacred and holds deep spiritual wisdom. So what do the trees have to tell you? Yeah. So Daniela says, I love the idea of walking in nature or being barefoot. Me too. I used to do that when I was younger. Didn't realize the importance of it. I'll remember to start walking barefoot again. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so grateful that this has been an inspiration for you. And you're going to inspire so many other people. You're inspiring me. I want to go walk barefoot when it's not going to freeze my toes off, but yes. Hey, Marissa Price Hills, just checking in. Thank you. Appreciate you for checking in. As always, appreciate you. Hey, Marissa, good to see you here. Community, community. Okay. So now we're going to get into our read for today. So for the past few weeks, we have been reading we read the introduction, we read chapter 1. I have like notes flying out of this book all over the place. It's a really good one. We read chapter 1, we read chapter 2, the introduction, and chapter 3. We read it in order, not like how I just said it. But now we're on chapter 4. So if you want to catch up on the other chapters, they're on the live section of Teatime.beauty YouTube channel. So we will be reading a couple of pages, and I just want to let you know we'll be going over anxiety, social anxiety. Let's see. Skin color, shyness, other people's standards, being on high alert. So those are some topics that I'll be reading for us today. And for, just before I start reading, just encouragement and empowering, reminder for those of us who do experience anxiety. You are in control. You are in control. So whenever you have those anxious thoughts, remind yourself you are in control. Okay? Regardless of what your experiences have told you, regardless of what people in the past have told you that counter what I'm saying right now, you are in control. And at every point, you have the opportunity and honestly, the responsibility for yourself, your own wellness, to take your power back. Okay? So anxiety is trying to protect you. Anxiety says, hey, remember what happened? I don't want to go through that again. So let's do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and remember this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Limiting beliefs based on past experiences. Let's just remember and recall all these things and even have some of these feelings from that past experience come up so we can remind you why this can't happen again. It's just here to protect you, right? And you're in control and you're in the driver's seat now. Anxiety is not in the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat. Okay? So think about it like that. Yay! Family. Osio, welcome, welcome. Marissa, enough by M&T popping in. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here, popping in. But yes, you are in the driver's seat now. So just like how we took this deep breath is a perfect way for you to reset your mind, your body, your emotional state, and remind yourself, I am in control. So we can take a deep breath. And remind ourselves, I am safe. In this moment, I am safe. We take another deep breath. And we say, I am in control. I am in the driver's seat of my life. Right? Take another deep breath. I am protected. I am protected. Okay? You can practice that if some of you, because I experience this sometimes, I wake up out of my sleep feeling kind of anxious sometimes. I wake up out of my sleep and I'm already thinking about things I need to do, what I haven't done yet, who I need to talk to, maybe some difficult conversations that I might need to have. Deep breath. I am safe. I am worthy of safety. I am protected. I am worthy of protection. You always have that. That is a great place to start when creating a safe space for ourselves. Okay. So I just want to start that off before we start reading a few pages on anxiety. We're going to hear some experiences from women who have had anxiety and have found a way to navigate it so they can reclaim the life that they are worthy of living. Okay. So let's get into it. And then we'll have reflection on what I read after. So get cozy. Chapter 4. What must other people think? Yesterday, the most amazing thing happened in church. It all started when the minister of music lost her wig. No, I don't mean she got the Holy Spirit and knocked her wig askew. I mean the wig fell off her head and hit the floor. Here's what happened. The choir was in the throes of singing No, Never Alone. Sister Bea, minister of music, reared back her head to hit a high note and the wig slid off. Girlfriend didn't miss a beat. She finished the song and did an encore. And when that was over, she bent down, picked up the wig, waved it at the congregation, and sat down, wigless. At that moment, Sister Maya turned to me and whispered, I wish I could be like Sister Bia. She said, Wigless? I replied, No, she said, unafraid. Do you think, she whispered, you could help me become a bit more like her? A little less afraid of what people might think? I turned my full attention to Sister Maya. She was a tall, beautiful, soft spoken woman with both an MBA and a law degree from Harvard. Yet Maya had toiled in the same lowly assistant professor position at the law school for 10 years. She hadn't been promoted, and despite the fact that she was a skillful interpreter of the tax law, she hadn't written anything in years. She wanted to get married, but in the 5 years I had known her, she had never gone out with anyone more than twice. Some people thought Maya was stuck up. Other people thought she was stuck in a rut. That morning in church, I realized she was neither. Maya was paralyzed by fear. She didn't write because she was afraid people wouldn't like what she wrote. She didn't try for promotion because she was afraid she wouldn't get it. She didn't go out with anyone because she was afraid they wouldn't like her. Maya's fear has a name: social anxiety. Women with this form of anxiety are afraid of being embarrassed or humiliated in social or other situations. They fear they will do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, or look the wrong way in the situation and be negatively evaluated by others. This fear is often so intense that women will experience acute panic attack in the social situation. Just the thought of engaging in the social behavior can produce a predisposed panic attack. For these reasons, social anxiety is sometimes called social phobia. Women with social anxiety recognize the fear is unreasonable or excessive, but feel helpless to change the situation. Limited and generalized social anxiety. Oh, hi, Auntie. Thank you for being here and checking in. Yeah, say hi to my family. We're reading about anxiety. Welcome. Socially anxious Black women exhibit this difficulty in either a limited or a generalized manner. In limited social anxiety, a woman's anxiety and fear are confined to one or two social situations, such as public speaking, dating, signing a contract or credit debit card slip in public, or dancing, eating, or performing in public. The woman who does everything in her power to avoid taking the high school or college speech class is a classic example of limited social anxiety. With the generalized version, anxiety and fear are experienced in almost every social situation. Regardless of the variety, socially anxious Black women either avoid social situations or endure them under great duress. Social anxiety, the limited version. Oh, I love you too. I love you too. Thank you for being here, listening to me read. Hi, Yolanda. Thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. Wow, with the fans here. Okay, that's good to know. This is a good time. This is a good time. Okay, thank you for being here. Hope you have a beautiful day. Enjoy. And in the beginning, we did a breath exercise. So if you want to go to the beginning and get your breath work in, got you. And we'll do it again at the end. Okay, social anxiety, the limited version. Maya's social anxiety was limited in nature, revolving around the areas of dating and evaluation of her written work by others in her field. At one point, she wrote and published articles. In fact, an article written 5 years ago was published in a prestigious journal and awarded a prize. At that point, many considered her a rising star in the field, but several leading tax law scholars criticized the prize winning article, one going so far as to insinuate that the article was being heralded because of the race of its author, not its content. Maya was mortified and humiliated. She vowed her next article would be so good that no one would criticize it, and her race would be a non issue. She'd spent the last 5 years working on the same two articles. Every time she was ready to publish one of them, she'd find something she feared would be criticized and continue to work on it some more. As a result, the articles remained unpublished. This fear of negative evaluation directly affected her ability to be promoted. To be promoted at the law school, you had to publish. Maya's articles remained in her file drawer, unpublished, and therefore Maya could not be promoted. Maya has a warm brown complexion and is a beautiful woman, but she doesn't think so. As a child, her caramel colored, red haired older brothers teased her about being dark and ugly. Brothers, am I right? The feelings of humiliation and embarrassment connected with her skin tone remained with her into adulthood. When a man asked her out, she was terrified that he would reject her because she was too dark. Rather than suffer the humiliation of being rejected, she broke it off. Women with the limited form of social anxiety often perform well in other social situations. In other areas, Maya was confident. Law students consistently raved about her classes, and her teaching evaluations were among the highest. Colleagues who worked in law firms called her in to consult on difficult tax law cases and raved about her knowledge. Many organizations asked her to be the guest speaker at their banquets. She enjoyed doing these things and did them well. But Maya wanted to publish and she wanted to date. She just wasn't willing to risk the anxiety and rejection. Social anxiety, the generalized version. So that was the limited version. This is generalized version. Janice was terrified that other Black women would think she acted white. The girls in high school had said that about her, and she felt as if none of the Black kids really liked her. During high school, her feelings of being rejected by other Black students reached the point where she started experiencing panic attacks whenever another Black teen approached her. The situation became so bad, she began carrying a sipper bottle filled with vodka and Coke. Every time she thought one of the Black kids was going to say something to her, she took a sip. It calmed her nerves. Now that she was in college, she wasn't going to let that happen again. So what if she thought Lil' Kim demeaned Black women? She wasn't going to let her new friends know that. So what if she thought the white girl next door was fun? She wasn't going to make friends with her. She was going to be the type of Black woman that other Black women would want as a friend. The problem was that she was so busy being what she thought other people wanted her to be, she forgot to be herself. This made her more anxious and miserable than she had been in high school. I've always thought of myself as Black and take great pride in the history of our people, said Janice. When in my freshman year of high school, the Black kids began to say that I acted white, it was just like something inside me died. I never, ever want to feel like that way again. I never, ever want to feel that way again. I felt like everything I did was ridiculed. The white kids weren't much better. I remember several of them saying, "But gee, Janice, you don't act like a Black girl." What was that supposed to mean? Whether I am with Blacks or whites, I feel like I'm walking this tightrope. One false move and it'll be high school all over again. The vodka helps, but I don't want to turn into an alcoholic. Janice's fear of being accused of acting white affected almost all her social situations. Regardless of whether she was interacting with Blacks or whites, Janice found herself not wanting to do anything that would make either group think she wasn't behaving as they thought a Black woman should behave and face rejection and humiliation. To prevent a repeat of her high school experience, She began acting like someone she knew wasn't her, once again using vodka to ease the physical symptoms of her anxiety. Whitney's terrible, horrible, very bad middle school incident. Every black woman who knew her disliked Whitney. They found her shallow and self absorbed. She took the slightest thing as criticism and responded in a hostile way to the individual responsible. It got to the point where she wouldn't speak to other women. If her hair wasn't done or her designer clothes weren't dry cleaned, she didn't go out. Everything she did had to be perfect, or she wouldn't do it. Being perfect, she reasoned, would make people like her. It had the opposite effect. Whitney's social anxiety took the form of anger and hostility. The anger and hostility were ways to prevent people from criticizing her. She would cut them off before they could say anything negative. The problem was, people weren't going to be critical or say negative things to her. She just perceived it that way. Her hostility made people shun her. When Whitney and women didn't like her, when Whitney said women didn't like her, she was pretty much telling the truth. Like thousands of other socially anxious women, Whitney was able to identify the exact moment her social phobia began. Her father had worked his way up from the steel mills of Pennsylvania to owning his own corporation and a prominent place in Black and white society. From an early age, her mother impressed upon her the need to always look and behave perfectly. If she looked or behaved badly, it would reflect unfavorably on her father. Other people were just looking for the opportunity to tear her family down. Crabs in a barrel, her mother called them. Her mother also warned her to watch out for girls who wanted to be her friend only because her father was rich. One day in sixth grade, Whitney stood up in class. The zipper on her skirt broke, and the garment fell to the floor. Whitney quickly peeled it up, grateful that no one had seen what had happened, or so she thought. Just then, a girl she considered her friend said in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "Ooh, Whitney's skirt fell off. I guess her rich daddy can't buy her skinny yellow behind clothes that fit." The entire room started laughing. The teacher made the girl apologize, but for Whitney, the damage had been done. The image of the entire class laughing at her was one she would never forget. 2 days later, Whitney wore a very pretty outfit to school. When another girl complimented her on the outfit, Whitney remembered that she had been among those laughing at her. She began to recall the embarrassment and humiliation of 2 days ago. Her heart began to beat a little faster, and she began to feel tense and anxious. Certain the girl was going to make fun of her, Whitney brushed past her without speaking. The girl thought Whitney was being unfriendly and stuck up. In reality, Whitney was protecting herself from what she thought was going to be another humiliating incident. She would not be embarrassed again. It was simply too painful. She would snub others before they snubbed her. What happened after the terrible, horrible, very bad incident was just as important for Whitney as the original incident itself. The memory of the other kids' laughter and comments, coupled with the emotions and physical sensations their behavior produced, carried over into similar social situations. She became tense, afraid, and convinced that others were going to say something negative about her appearance, her clothes, or both. In fact, she expected it. The psychologist, William James, said, "If you expect a thing to become so, you expect and believe it long enough and hard enough, it will become so." I'm going to read that one more time. The psychologist, William James, said, "If you expect a thing to become so, and you expect and believe it long enough and hard enough, it will become so." Whitney's expectations led to the misinterpretation of others' actions, behaviors, and motives. Thus, her expectations of being negatively seen by others were met. This was distressing to Whitney. She wanted friends, women to shop with, laugh with, and share secrets with. But the memory of the horrible incident combined with her mother's warnings and her own anxiety and fear just kept getting in the way. Yeah. Yolanda says, sounds like my high school years, except the drinking part. Yeah. Did you have a horrible, terrible, very bad incident? We've all been there. And it's so valid to heal from that in community. It happened in community. Why can't I heal from it in community? Huh? Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Social anxiety and the Black experience. Twice as good, half as far. The stories of Maya, Janice, and Whitney illustrate how issues related to being a Black woman in America may complicate social anxiety. From the cradle, many of us are told and come to believe that Black women have to be twice as good to go half as far. Early on, we come to understand that our success is not our own, but reflects positively on all Black Americans. Maya was taught and strongly believed these things. The prize winning article was sharply criticized, and her race was raised as an issue. The anxiety and humiliation she felt was twofold, individually for herself and collectively for Black women. Experiencing those emotions on a dual level heightened Maya's sense of inadequacy and fear of her scholarly work being negatively evaluated. Gina, a friend of Maya's as well as a civil rights professor at the same law school, used her twice as good, half as far, and representing the race beliefs to buffer her response to criticism. Rather than feeling embarrassed when her articles were criticized or her race was raised as an issue, Gina saw it for what it was, part of the law school culture and prejudice. She told herself, everyone's articles get criticized. I expected this. I also know that I am more likely to be criticized because of my race. If I let it get to me, stop me from doing my best, I am letting prejudice win. The difference between the two women's approaches appears directly related to how they interpret and handle discrimination and prejudice, and the amount of stress and other anxiety risk factors present in their lives. Acting white. Acting white is one of the most negative criticisms young Black women can hurl at one another. Countless numbers of young women have questioned their behaviors. Countless numbers of young women have questioned their behavior, attitudes, and beliefs after hearing this accusation. An important part of being an adolescent is finding out who you are and what you believe in, separate and apart from your parents. Psychologists refer to this as establishing your own social identity. For Black teens, a central part of that identity is their racial identity, determining for themselves what it means to be Black and the value they place on that meaning. When the other teens said that she acted white, Janice felt as if they were rejecting her and attacking the core of her identity. Janice began to expect rejection from other Black students. As a result, whenever another Black student approached her or she was in social situations with other Black students, she began to experience panic symptoms. That's why she used the vodka. The alcohol helped steady her nerves. Soft-spoken and somewhat shy, as a college student, Janice was acting like someone she wasn't and was terrified that someone would find out the truth. What would happen if they actually found out what she really thought and believed? Janice didn't want to be white, she just wanted to be herself. But given her high school experience, she was afraid if she did so, she wouldn't have any friends. The panic attacks returned, and once again, she began using the vodka. this time hiding it in an insulated coffee cup. An extremely interesting finding from my work with socially anxious Black women is that most make reference to being accused of acting white in either junior high, middle school, or high school. Over half report that they still hear that accusation in some form or fashion now that they are adults. Understanding the accusation of acting white may be important in understanding how social anxiety develops in some Black women. Specifically in Janice's case, fear of being accused of acting white appears to have combined with her natural shyness to produce social anxiety. My auntie says, I appreciate my parents in a special way for raising us not to see color. I see individuals. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, acting white was another one. Okay, so we resonated with that last section. Okay. Yeah. And for these experiences to happen while we're still learning about our own personality, learning about how we're going to show up in this world, like, yeah, it's a complicated one. But obviously, it doesn't just happen to one of us, it happened to lots of us. So I hope that this is inspiring others to share their stories because your story matters. And honestly, I've been volunteering with youth and teens, and I've been working with little kids. And it really matters that they know that they're not the first ones going through things like this. So your testimony matters, and it will help a younger person on their journey. Okay, so our next section, shyness. Psychologists Lynn Henderson and Philip Zimbardo, co-directors of the Shyness Institute, describe shyness as discomfort or inhibition in interpersonal situations that interferes with one's personal or professional goals. At some point in our lives, all of us have experienced a mild episode of shyness. We have found ourselves tongue tied in the presence of an attractive member of the opposite sex, or our normal voice was reduced to a whisper when we were asked a question in a room full of people. Shyness's role in the development of social anxiety is often misunderstood. Simply being shy does not mean you are socially anxious. While some shy people develop social anxiety, others do not. Socially anxious women are what psychologists Gregory and Barbara Markway describe as painfully shy. I like that term because it accurately describes what it is like for many Black women whose social anxiety extends to almost all social situations. The level of psychological distress and discomfort is so intense it literally hurts. Some women with generalized social anxiety avoid new social situations altogether. They, in effect, become social avoidants. In the April 8th, 1996 issue of Jet magazine, several Black psychologists suggested that what is interpreted as shyness, particularly in the presence of whites, is actually an appropriate and adaptive coping strategy for Blacks known as mask wearing. Remember these lines from Paul Laurence Dunbar's poem, We Wear the Mask? We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. In other words, quiet, reticent behavior allows African Americans to hide their true feelings from the world. Some psychologists suggest that shyness is not a trait generally found among Black women. These experts subscribe to the notion that a Black woman will tell you in no uncertain terms what she thinks. While we all know Black women like this, we should not take it as evident that shyness is a rare trait among Black women. In fact, Black women are just as likely as women of other races to be shy. Skin color. Skin color issues remain intertwined with perceptions of appearance in some Black communities. As Maya's and Whitney's stories confirm, appearance is a major source of social anxiety for Black women. Skin color is a visible part of a Black woman's appearance. When we describe a Black woman to another Black person, we frequently include a description of skin tone. Socially anxious women tend to see themselves through the eyes of others rather than through their own eyes. Maya is a beautiful woman, yet she sees herself and believes others see her as dark and ugly. This is a direct result of the evaluation she was constantly given as a child and what she internalized. Whitney still sees herself through the eyes of her sixth grade classmates, the girl with the rich daddy whose skirt fell off, exposing her skinny yellow behind. Neither seems to realize that age, maturity, and new observers change these perspectives. Oh, these perceptions. Okay. Neither seem to realize that age, maturity, and new observers change these perceptions. It is as if Maya's and Whitney's perceptions of self are stuck in time. Each still sees herself as she believes others saw her 20 or 30 years ago. The fact that these self perceptions are tinged by the skin color issue makes them harder to erase from one's memory. Historically, skin color has influenced African American women's social status. Family histories and the biographies and autobiographies of African Americans, as well as history books, are replete with stories about being denied or afforded certain social, educational, and economic opportunities because of light or dark skin color. Prior to the civil rights movement, certain professions were closed to dark skinned women. Membership in certain churches, clubs, and sororities were often based on skin tone. Light skinned women were more likely to marry high status Black males, granting them access to the Black middle class. Although the social divisions between dark and light have narrowed considerably, some vestiges still remain. Brenda Payton, in a column for the Oakland Tribune, tells the story of a dark-skinned female friend who, every time she attends a social gathering of African Americans, calculates the number of light and dark-skinned Blacks in the room. By doing so, her friend can ascertain whether it is a dark or light-skinned gathering. Confident her friend is simply obsessed with color, Peyton tries her friend's calculation at several parties she attends. She is surprised by her findings. Her friend seems to be correct. Socially, we still seem to segregate ourselves along skin color lines. Skin color also affects one of the most telling symptoms of embarrassment, blushing. When speaking or writing about social anxiety, various anxiety experts will relate how, when embarrassed, women actually turn red as a beet. As Black women, the richness of our skin tones makes blushing an unlikely occurrence for those with very light skin. Except for those, okay, let me read that sentence again. As Black women, the richness of our skin tones makes blushing an unlikely occurrence, except for those with very light skin. We are more likely to feel our cheeks grow warm, a sensation that cannot be seen by others. Other people's standards. In a pivotal scene from the movie The Best Man, henpecked lawyer turned youth worker Murch, played by Harold Perrineau Jr., tells stripper/college student Candy, portrayed by Regina Hall, if you don't define yourself for yourself, you'll be crushed into other people's fantasies for you and eaten alive. Actually, Murch is quoting the poet and writer Audre Lorde. As an anxiety expert, I find it is one of my favorite quotes because it accurately depicts what happens to socially anxious Black women. Rather than defining your own standards for who you are and what you believe, you define yourself by what you envision other people's standards to be. The problem is these standards you think up are so harsh that you stagger under the weight. As Maya so aptly puts it, what I think other people think is far worse than what they are actually thinking. Janice and Whitney were also guilty of thinking this way. Until she sought help, Janice truly believed other Blacks judged her for who she wasn't, rather than on her merits. As for Whitney, her fear that others would see her as less than perfect affected just about every facet of her life. Being on high alert. Maya's, Janice's, and Whitney's social behaviors are linked together by a common characteristic, hypervigilance, which is the psychological equivalent of being on high alert, on highest alert. In this state, you look for any sign that others are negatively evaluating you, or that you are about to be embarrassed or humiliated. What triggers this state is the common belief that something about you is unacceptable to other people. When this belief is paired with the tendency to judge using other people's standards, a state of hypervigilance emerges. In this state of highest alert, your attention is drawn to the slightest indication that another person sees you negatively. Furthermore, you have a harder time refocusing your attention on something more positive. You misinterpret the words, behaviors, and looks of others in such a way that they confirm your fears of rejection, humiliation, or embarrassment. You fail to consider an alternative reason for the other person's actions or reactions. That's the other piece of being socially anxious and hypervigilant. Your focus tends to be inward, on yourself. You believe everyone is as focused on your imperfections as you are. This self focus is different from being self absorbed. Trust me, most divas are not socially anxious. Maya believed she was too dark and men didn't really want to date her. One time on a date, she caught the man looking at her intently. She abruptly ended the evening and asked him to take her home. He was looking at her intently not because, as Maya believed, she was too dark, but because she was so lovely. Maya's state of hypervigilance resulted in her misinterpreting the meaning of the gentleman's gaze, causing her to end a relationship before it ever began. In high school, Janice's hypervigilance reached the point where she didn't even wait for the other person to speak. If a Black student approached her and wasn't smiling, she took it as a sign that the individual was getting ready to say something nasty to her, and she took a drink. If the student approached her and was smiling, she took that as a sign the student was going to make fun of her, and she took a drink. In most cases, she perceived negative intent when none existed. As for Whitney, being in a state of highest alert increased her hostility toward other women. She went into social situations looking for the worst from other women, and usually found it. Interestingly, if she didn't look so hard for it, she never would have found it. Social anxiety and other difficulties. We've got 2 more pages left for the chapter. Depression. Being socially anxious may create other problems. Like Maya, Janice, and Whitney, many socially anxious Black women want social interaction. They want friends and significant others. When relationships do not pan out and these women continuously avoid social interactions, they may begin to experience great sadness regarding their situation. When negative self evaluation and a sense of despair are also present, women with social anxiety develop depression. Alcohol. Janice used vodka to ease her anxiety symptoms and help her get through various social situations. It calmed her nerves. Alcohol use is a fairly common practice among women with social anxiety. alcohol lowers inhibitions. Some women believe alcohol relaxes them. Others swear alcohol makes them more witty. Still, others think it gives them the courage to face difficult social situations. Whatever the reason, these women come to rely on alcohol and develop a drinking problem. Glenda, the young woman in Detox, is a prime example. Drinking made her less anxious and calmed her nerves when she was out with friends, but as time went on, it took more and more alcohol, until she was falling out in the streets dead drunk. Alcohol is readily available in most social situations. Some of us believe that if a party, wedding, dinner, or dance doesn't have alcohol, we are not going to have a good time. Statistics from the hospitality industry bear this out. People stay longer at social events where alcohol is served than they do at events where alcohol is not served. Given this fact, alcohol and social situations seem to go together, and it is not surprising that a portion of socially anxious Black women develop alcohol problems. And last section for today, hope. Whether you are experiencing limited or generalized social anxiety, you can learn to overcome your fear. Because you are dealing with only one or two specific social situations, treating the limited version requires less time than treating the generalized version. With the generalized version, you are dealing not only with anxiety, but also with a negative sense of self. The belief that something about you does not measure up to other people. For this reason, a woman with social anxiety must learn to change what she believes about herself. She must cast aside those images of middle school and high school and replace them with the image of who she is today and who she wants to become. Changing these images and beliefs take time, but you can change them. I see it happen every day as I watch women steadily take steps to erase social anxiety from their lives. Yesterday, the most amazing thing happened in church. Sister Maya took the first step to overcoming social anxiety. She asked for help. Okay. Well, all right. So let's go ahead and reflect on what we read. We read a whole chapter 4 on anxiety, social anxiety. Did you learn something new? Did you hear something that resonated with your experience? And also, how is today's coping skill, going into nature, walking in nature, a way to navigate anxiety? How might going into nature help you navigate anxiety? So, in this chapter, wow, I love that there were so many different examples because I think sometimes we look at diagnoses or even just like words or phrases like anxiety and we're like, I don't resonate with that, or I resonate with that. And then we stop there. Like sometimes we don't go a bit deeper or even just reflect personally around, okay, I resonated with that, but what does that look like in my life? And that's okay if you need assistance, maybe from like a book like this, or maybe a therapist or a close friend or family member to really help you understand about how this symptom impacts your day to day life. But I really love how this book shares different women's testimonies around what their lived experience is. Because I feel like this book does a really great job of personalizing, especially for Black women, how our mental health shows up in our day-to-day lives within our culture. Um, that's why the book is called Soothe Your Nerves, because a lot of people in our culture, especially women, will say, it's my nerves. Like you're getting on my nerves. It's a sensation that we're describing. And also sometimes we might get looked over or maybe even the symptoms we experience day to day might get dismissed because the women or people in our family or in our community have been experiencing that for so long. And so it's just something that like people have just chalked it up to, this is just how it is. And it doesn't have to be like that. But if we don't have the language for what we're experiencing, we don't have the community support, yes, community support, to be able to allow us to navigate in a safe way these experiences we're having, we might feel alone and we might stay stuck. So I really love how this book, and that's why I'm reading it. I want to create a safe community where whether people on the live or whether people on the replay are able to have a space where we can listen to what these experiences are like and then share in the comments or even just with your own personal circle of people, what is this like for you? In the last few episodes, we talked about panic. So if you ever experience anything like a panic attack or anything that is just overwhelming to your senses as a whole, I'm sharing these stories and then I'm also sharing coping skills. Each live, there's a different coping skill. And then it's the coping skill is also paired with an inspiration from a woman from our culture. So we've gone over how Audre Lorde, Dr. Maya Angelou, Fannie Lou Hamer, like how all of these women have utilized different coping skills to create the legacy that we know of today. So let's go ahead and reflect. Daniela says, I really enjoy listening to this chapter. Yay! I learned a lot and spotted some things that I can work on with myself. Beautiful. And if you don't mind sharing maybe one thing that you noticed, or maybe something that you plan to incorporate into your daily routine, or whether it's something you're going to try one time, you might inspire someone here. So if you don't mind sharing, feel free. My auntie says this was a very interesting chapter. I enjoyed it. I'm so glad you're here. And I know I like to call you and talk to you about things that I go through, and it really helps me to be able to speak with someone that I really care about what I'm experiencing, and be validated and also be reminded that, yes, I go through that too. Or, yes, when I was younger, I went through that too. Right? We all deserve that type of community support. There is something in here about, oh, twice as good, half as far. Yeah, so here I'm going to read this. From the cradle, many of us are told and come to believe that Black women have to be twice as good to go half as far. Early on, we come to understand that our success is not our own, but reflects positively on all Black Americans. Okay, so while I do believe that just like the women in the legacies, when the coping skills that we share, I do believe that greatness does reflect the community from which that greatness comes from, right? So whoever supported Maya Angelou, right, during her upbringing and during her young adulthood and throughout the process of her being a legend, like becoming a legend, becoming the woman that we know of her today. It took community. It took her making a constant personal choice to overcome the obstacles that she was being presented with. Her making that personal choice of, I'm in control. It didn't mean, because she has such a great legacy, it doesn't mean she didn't deal with anything hard. It meant that when she did deal with hard things, she found the support that she needed. She was presented with opportunities to elevate herself and to come out of a stuck place, and she said yes to them. There's a book by Shonda Rhimes, The Year of Yes. When you say yes to yourself, you're also saying yes to your blessings, to opportunities that are yours, right? When we give our power away in different forms, like alcoholism, you know, like putting other people's perceptions of us before how we see ourselves, right? Living a life that we think other people want us to live instead of taking every moment to discover, what am I here on this earth for? And how do I tend to my body and my spirit while I'm here? Right? These are choices that we are making day in and day out. When you say no to yourself, you're saying yes to something else or someone else. Okay? Saying no to something or someone else means you're saying yes to you. Saying yes to something that is in alignment with you is you saying yes to you. But do that internal temperature check. Say yes. The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. I'll text it to you. But The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And I want that book too. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard it recommended a lot. So, yes. Daniela says, one thing I can work on is not assuming that people think the worst of me, especially when they don't know me. Also, making a conscious effort to go out more, to practice sing comfortably around people. I love this. I love this. I want to learn how to be more comfortable singing too. And I have a song that I posted on my YouTube channel. And yeah, this is beautiful, Daniela. Thank you for sharing. Practice being more comfortable around people. Oh, okay. That's you. Yeah, I exposed myself. I do want to practice singing in public. But yes, practice being more comfortable around people. That's beautiful. Yeah. So not assuming that other people, right, are having this perception of you. And remember that that's your body's way of protecting you, right? Tell that anxiety where to go. Say, all right, anxiety, I see you. I see what you're doing your job. Thank you. You can go have a seat now. You're dismissed, right? Like, I don't have to force anxiety to be in the driver's seat if I know that it's not going to serve me. Anxiety will take the lead if you let it. Key point, if you let it. Anxiety only takes over your life if, one, you're not aware of it yet in a concrete way consciously. So it's running your life and you don't even know what it is, how to name it, how to pinpoint it, that it's causing your quality of life to decrease. Like, if you're not aware of the anxiety, that's one reason why anxiety will be in the driver's seat. Another way is if we allow it, we give it permission. So we're aware of it. We start noticing the signs. We're listening to lives like this. We're reading up books. We're reading up online about this, around the symptoms. And then we're like, but I still am not ready to make different choices. So we end up in the patterns and habits that lead us into anxious experiences. Are you going to judge yourself? That's a choice. Are you going to accept that I make this choice? You can. Are you going to blame someone else for making you feel anxious? You can. Are you going to look at yourself and say, I am safe? What do I need in this moment right now? Are you going to ask yourself, what do I have access to right now within myself to validate that I am worthy of protection? Anxiety is offering an opportunity to commune with yourself, to connect your mind and body and your spirit. Your soul knows you're protected. Your soul has all the answers. Your body is a messenger, always communicating with you. We are in control of our mind. We are. We really are. Unless you have a type of mental condition where you really don't have control of your mind and you know your testimony best, we are all worthy of community support that is in alignment with our soul, right? Community that is in alignment with our belief systems and our values. So when we decide to take these steps to overcome anxiety, we have the support and the backing, right? Steady support, reliable support, you included. because you started supporting yourself first. So you set the standard and you set the foundation around what support means for you, what it's going to look like, feel like, taste like, all of that. Who's going to be involved, how many people are going to be involved. You decide all of that because you allow the blessings to come into your life because you made the choice to say yes to yourself. And anyone who doesn't vibe with that, right? I might grieve, I might mourn, but what I'm not going to do is stay stuck. What I'm not going to do is abandon myself to make someone else feel more comfortable. What I am going to do is elevate and reach my fullest potential every day. And I won't judge myself. And when I do, I will return back home to myself and remind myself with a deep breath and an affirmation. I am safe. Rubbing my palm across my heart in a circular motion. I am safe. I am protected. I am worthy of all good things. Yeah. This is a safe community space for all of us to learn more about ourselves. Daniela says, also, I can always let myself know I am safe. Yes, see? And that I am enough because you are. Because you are. And that is the perception you hold. That is how you affirm yourself again and again. And even if you forget sometimes, even if it doesn't feel like you believe it, say it anyway. Say it anyway. Say it anyway. Remind yourself anyway. Write it in your journal anyway. Write it on your whiteboard anyway. Get an expo marker and write it across your mirror. So every time you look in your bathroom mirror, I am enough. I see it. I see it. I am safe. I'm reminded of it. And then watch yourself notice the evidence of that in your life. You wake up in the morning, say, I am safe. I am safe. Before you get out of bed, before the feet hit the floor, before you touch your phone, before those covers are off of you, you put your hand on your heart and you put another hand over your belly and you take a deep breath and you say, I am safe. While you're still laying in bed, while it's still dark, I am safe. I am safe. I am enough. I am enough. And you'll notice those thoughts coming, boom, bang, 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 bang. Clear that mind with a deep breath. I am safe. In this moment, I am enough and I am in control. And as you go on through your day, you always can return back to that moment, that feeling of safety, that truth. I am safe. If you need to feel the safety is between the palm of your hand and your chest. If you need to be reminded you are enough, you are enough. Take in that deep breath of air and letting out that air. You are reminding your organs, I am enough. I am worthy of being taken care of, and I am taking care of myself by breathing. Remind yourself of the things you're grateful for. That was one of our gratitude reminders. Or that was one of our coping skills. Create a list of things you're grateful for and a list of something that your soul and your spirit is grateful for, right? It doesn't have to be something tangible. It can be, I'm grateful I take deep breaths because I know what it's like to take shallow breaths. I'm grateful to be able to smile because I remember days where I was nowhere near a smile. All right? Like, what are you grateful for? But our coping skill for today is nature walks. So we'll go ahead and wrap up soon, but let's see. My auntie says, if you let it, anxiety is horrible. I don't let it overpower me any longer. I am in control. That's right. That's my family right there. You see where I get it from? Oh, you aren't so inspiring. You too. You too. I am in control. I am safe. I am enough. I am in control. All right. So let's go ahead and close out with our breath practice, Dirga Pranayama. That's the Sanskrit name. Diaphragmatic breath is the English name for that. And all that means is we will be using our full diaphragm, taking full inhales and exhales. And one way you can tell if you're taking a deep breath is if you put your hands on your diaphragm. When you inhale, your diaphragm will expand, and when you exhale, it will affect back into place. Okay, so if you like to put your hands in that position, I am sitting in a chair, sitting up straight, and we will practice 4 deep breaths together to close out our wonderful session. Okay, so when you're ready, I will be closing my eyes. If you are safe to do so, please close your eyes, or you may look at the tip of your nose and lower your gaze. If you're sitting or standing, this is a-okay for you to do this breath practice as long as you are in a safe, comfortable environment. So when you're ready, we'll take an inhale through our nose and we will exhale through our mouth with a sigh of relief, like and I want you to force all of that air out for another round of a deep inhale. So we'll do this 4 times. Ready? Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. Last one. Inhale an affirmation. I am safe. And exhale. You are worthy of all the safety, peace, and ease you desire in this life. If your eyes are closed, you may open them. Allow your breath to return back to normal. Give yourself a hug, a little squeeze. Beautiful. Thank you for taking care of yourself today. Thank you for supporting me, Dani, and my channel, Teatime.beauty. So we are in our outro. So some of the offerings I will be providing once I get it together. So if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do so you can stay informed when I do offer this. But I will be offering breathwork sessions. So it will be $5, and I will be sharing for 15 minutes a group session on Zoom where we will be doing, like we did today, breath practice. But it will be for 15 minutes and you'll be in community. It'll be weekly. And so you'll have a weekly 15 minutes where you're just here to meet and breathe, regulate our nervous systems together, and learn a new skill and practice it together routinely. Okay? A little 15 minutes of heaven. So thank you again. I appreciate you so much. And I hope you have a beautiful evening. I will be back on my channel in the morning, not tomorrow morning, probably. But you'll see when I go live, because at this point, I'm not going to promise when, but I will be going live weekdays in February. Still getting my schedule together, but I look forward to continue reading Soothe Your Nerves with you. Yay! Thank you, thank you. Daniela says, really enjoyed this live stream. Thanks, Dani. Good night, everyone. Good night, friends. Thank you, Yolanda, for being here. Thank you, Auntie, for being here. I love you. Okay, I appreciate you all so much. Bye-bye. Good night.